This is Lord Thaddeus correct. This one, well, first off, I want to wish everyone a late Thanksgiving, and I surely hope that everybody enjoyed their holiday. I know for a fact I did. I spent it with family. I was going to leave it at that. I had a great day yesterday. It was good for my spirit. And I thank everyone for praying for me to keep me stable because this is a hard time for me this time of year. Let's leave it at that. Now, moving on ahead. What's this one going to be about? It's about cryptid, but not what you would expect. Most of the time when you think of cryptids, you think of Mothman, Bigfoot, Dogman. This is stuff that, me and, the Dark Waters family tend to work around. But that's not the case with this. I mean, it's been brought up a couple of times. But you would never think that a human being would be considered a cryptid. But cryptozoology circles around things that are undiscovered. Or at least what society as a norm does not know about. That's what cryptozoology is. I know I'm not quoting the exact definition properly, but that's just the way it is. You're dealing with a good old boy from Texas. Next. But anyway, here's my point. The cryptid I'm talking about is feral people. People are very capable of being literally a part of legend. There have been all kinds of sightings of people who were either forced away from society or maybe chose to step away for their own beliefs or whatever. I'm not talking about cults. I'm not talking about that kind of thing. Or, maybe a separatist religious group like the Amish. Of course, believe me, those folks are about civilized as you can get. I mean, we're talking about, for the most part, decent salt-of-the-earth people. I'm not talking about that. Or even the crazy offshoots or whatever. No. I'm talking about people who were forced away from civilization completely. And who literally had to adapt from the ground up and survive in the environment they were in. That is a feral person. Now, of course, society would call them mindless savages. That's bullshit. I'm pretty sure they're every bit as intelligent as you or me, maybe more so in their own way. Maybe even gained senses, which most people would not have to use. Like maybe enhanced sight, hearing, that kind of thing. Sense of smell. I know many indigenous folks back in the day had all those senses pretty heightened compared to us civilized individuals later on down the line. And of course, they themselves were for the most part civilized, but they had the ability to live off the land and therefore they're able to exploit those senses more. And exploit is the wrong word, but hone or utilize. Feral individuals, I'm pretty sure, have to utilize those senses beyond anything you can understand. Now, what are examples of some feral people? Well, look up a man, I think his name is Jack Ketchum or Hank Ketchum. He's a writer. He writes some very gory books, so be careful if you have a stomach or you're not capable of holding such things. That's my disclaimer to cover my own rear end, and I just don't want to traumatize people. Look him up. He wrote a bunch of books about feral individuals, folks who have been forced and isolated away from mankind, and they become cannibals. And of course, you got to think about that. There are many legends of such tribes. Even indigenous tribes in South America, which now are, they're isolated from civilization. I don't think they're necessarily cannibalistic, but there have been stories of such tribes being that way. It's something to really think about. And of course, they're not going to understand, right or wrong the way we do, nor are they going to care. Food's food. Keep your own close to you. Your enemies are your enemies. There ain't no there ain't no real gray. There's probably nothing but black and white. It's survival for these guys. So you really have to take that into consideration. The different stories of feral individuals. I've done one halfway already when it comes to that. Of course, I have, one such example would be, of course, there is a family in Russia. I don't think they're feral. They just chose to isolate themselves from normal people in society. They've been spending a long time out in the mountains in Siberia, I think. But the fact is, this is it is documented that this family has survived for generations as they are. That's something to think about right there. Only God knows what those folks have been dealing with out in them hills, in those mountains. That's unforgiving territory out there. But also, I did a video, as I said before, on, I believe it was melonheads, which kind of goes along this route. You have to think about that. A person who is stripped away from civilization, this is where the paranormal comes in. as I said before, I was talking about senses, where a person is stripped away from society, normal interactions, technology, these dampen the mind. They dampen this ability to really sense out things. Those of you guys who know me know I'm a little more sensitive than most. I didn't ask for it, not one freaking bit. What has happened. I mean, you can just read the list of the videos that I put up on my experiences, and you understand that. But the fact is, even that is dulled by what's around me. Whether it be electronic or some kind of spiritual blockage that I put upon myself due to my moral code, who knows? But people who are not quite endowed with that sense of right and wrong, I mean, I'm pretty sure they have their own sense of it, but you know what I'm trying to say. They think more like what we consider an animal, even though they're not. But they're not constrained by the morality that we have. I don't doubt that such beings like that are endowed with a connection to other forces, whether it be good or bad. My point is, I think their senses, most likely. Look at the Aborigines in Australia. I mean, those guys. I mean, my God, their abilities are superhuman. And I'm not saying they're feral, they're far from it, but they have their own society, and they chose to, hey, you guys stay on your end, we stay here. It's done. But the fact is, these guys have, hell, they consider the waking world not the true one, and the dream time a real world. I mean, there's something going on with that. I'm pretty sure, there's all kinds of stories, hell, in China, the U.S., I know for a fact in Canada, South America, which I brought up, there's stories of tribes of people that just keep away from each other, keep away from civilization. There's been stories of course, kidnapping women, men, maybe to keep the inbreeding from going too far into their ranks, but I'm just saying, you really have to take into account what's really not known out there. I mean, hell, the United States, Texas is a good example. Now, I don't know if there's any stories of feral people. I mean, of course, you have crazy rednecks and your fair share of meth heads and all that kind of stuff around here, but the fact is this. The woods here in Texas are vast. Be surprised. You have a lot of really unexplored territory even here in the the Lone Star State. Now think about, let's say, a big, massive state like Alaska. Alaska, that's what I'm trying to say. Think of a huge, massive, unexplored, way up at the top of the world. There's been stories I know for a fact, there's been stories of people that ain't, civilized out there. I mean, there's just all kinds of stories, there's too many for me to even really list of feral individuals. I just wanted to bring these points up because the fact is, you and me, we ain't the only type of people out there. I know for a fact that there are some that live off the land and maybe off of individuals that stumbled in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's nothing against you and your family, but I gotta feed me and my family. If you get my drift. I mean, I know I'm kind of, with my dark sense of humor, is just how it is, but there you go. I just kind of want to bring that up and really put that out there. Leave some ideas in the comments. Let me know about some feral tribes out there that I don't really know about. Because like I said, I've studied so many that there are some I may or may not know about. And right now, my memory is not the best when it comes to bringing out names. So maybe some of you guys can refresh my memory on that. Because it's been really a while since I've done a lot of study on this. I just know about it. Like I said, just kind of refresh my memory and, just put some ideas there in the comments of what tribes out there which are known throughout the cultures and, lore of tribes that have been considered feral and, just wild individuals. Because to be honest with you, it might even give me an idea for a story or two, which I might put out in the future. You guys know what I do. You also know my email is westvic@dogmancams.com. If you guys have had a story, not a story, but an experience or encounter, whether it be cryptid, supernatural, hit me up. I'll make sure you definitely have the chance to tell it. You guys be blessed and you be safe.